Hi Year 12, this is the second video for economic growth. So make sure that you have all your resources that you need and we're going to start. Today's video is really only focusing on one dot point area and it's the multiplier. Now this area is really important and it comes up a lot in the multiple choice section of the HSC. So pretty much we now know what contributes to changing levels of economic growth in an economy. But these changes are not just, I suppose, one investment or one change in a component and that's it. So we're going to look at how do changes in the level of aggregate demand influence the level of economic activity. Now it is by a multiplied amount. So to analyse how the simple multiplier works, the economy must be simplified. So we look at what is the multiplier. Now, there are some videos here that focus on
students. This is Jacob Clifford. Welcome to ACD.
The multiplier. Now, I'm not going to show you these, but you do have the links to each of these. So if at the end of this video you're struggling and you want some further explanation, have a look here. You've got the web page up here and you could just Google or put both of these into YouTube itself. So both of these will supplement what we're going to do today. So pretty much, if you were asked to explain the process behind the multiplier, it's looking at the reaction. So I always think about it like dropping a stone in a pond. If you drop that stone or that rock, you then have a reactionary or those outward ripples. It's not like it's just one ripple and that's it. It's outward. They keep influencing and going on together. So here's a bit of an example for you. A new house building project injects $200 million or euro of extra demand and output into the economy. Many businesses will directly benefit from this. Okay, building suppliers, architects, construction companies. Building new houses will generate a new flow of factor incomes, including wages and profits. So those individuals that work for these companies will experience wage growth and the businesses will experience profit. Will the extra income stay inside the circular flow? Yeah, it will continue on. So if so, the multiplier effect will be strong. So the multiplier is not always the same. It's a numerical figure that is not always the same. So this is another example for you. Assume also that investment in the economy has increased. So we have had an increase in investment, so we know that that's a component of $10,000. So this represents an injection into the circular flow or 10,000. Or if we put it another way, an increase in aggregate demand of 10,000. If the economy was previously at equilibrium, this means that aggregate demand will now exceed output. So this excess in aggregate demand, okay, will manifest itself in unplanned rundown of stocks. Producers will respond and therefore national income will increase. So the multiplier process is about calculating the ongoing effect. Now, to calculate the ongoing effect, you need to know the initial amount. So in this instance, we know that national income will rise by 10,000. So of that 10,000, 8,000 will be spent because we need to know our marginal propensity to consume in order to calculate the multiplier. So 8,000 will be spent, 2,000 will be saved, and I know that because I know my MPS and my MPC. That 8,000 that is spent will be income to those who receive it. And if our multiplier is stable, and that's what we're dealing with here, then of that 8,000, 6,400 will be respent and 1,600 will be saved. This goes on and on and on because it is by a multiplied process. It's those ripples. So here's our first ripple, here's our second ripple, and then we keep going on and on and on. So that initial amount that was changed in our aggregate demand actually results in a much larger influence in the economy. So, here are some formulas that you must know. So you need to know your aggregate demand, the components, and you need to know your leakages and injections. So here is a practice question. The following table refers to economic data for a hypothetical economy. What would be the implications for this economy? So the first part of this question is looking at leakages and injections. I would strongly suggest that you label these as L or I. You then need to do the math, okay, and figure it out. The second part of this question has two components to it. One is asking about a trade surplus when you're obviously dealing with X and M, and the other is asking about a budget, deficit or surplus. So you're obviously dealing with G and T. You need to do the math. You need to work out your leakages and injections, and then you need to find whether you have a trade surplus, trade deficit, or budget surplus. Pause now and have a go at this question, please. Okay, hopefully you've done that. Now here's my working out. You need to do the math, and I'm not going to go through it because you can pause it and work your way through my worked example. But there is 3 steps, okay, and it requires you to know the formulas, okay, for your leakages and injections, for your trade surplus, and for your budget surplus and deficit. If you don't know these formulas, you can't do it. Now the correct answer is B. If you did not get that right, or if you kind of guessed, pause now and have a work through this worked example, please. All right, this is where we're starting to get into the more technical side of math that we haven't done yet, which is the multiplier. The multiplier is represented by the letter K, and it is given to you in 3 forms. Mostly I work in this form because I've only got to remember one then. So K equals 1 divided by 1 minus MPC. You need to know how to calculate MPC. So if you don't remember this, the change in consumption over the change in income, you have no hope of working out the multiplier. So, prelim course, we did MPC, MPS, and we know that MPC plus MPS needs to equal 1. If you are struggling with this, you need to come and see me in class and we need to give you some practice questions ASAP. So, what we are looking at is of the initial investment, okay, what is the end or the flow-on effect, okay? How much is that initial investment multiplied by? So, here is a table for you. We have income, consumptions, savings, and investment. Use 1, 2, and 3. You need to write the formula for the simple multiplier. Don't look back. Try and remember it. And use the information to calculate the value of the simple multiplier for this economy. Pause now and have a go. All right, hopefully you've done that. These are the answers, okay? Now, hopefully you remember that you need to calculate either your MPS or your MPC to calculate then your multiplier, and your multiplier in this instance is 2.5. If you struggled with this or if you did not get the correct answer, check my working out and we will need to go through this in class as well. So, there is a relationship between the marginal propensity to consume, which is, remember, that every extra dollar that gets spent, and the MPS, okay, that's savings, that will affect the multiplier. So if your MPC is larger and your MPS is smaller, then the value of the multiplier will be larger. So if people are more likely to keep consuming more, then the multiplier will be larger and have a larger effect. Now the opposite will take place as well. Okay, this equation here is the last one that we're going to look at, and it's the change in national income. Now you might want to annotate this. Equals the multiplier times by a change in aggregate demand. Now, remember your equation for aggregate demand, C plus I plus G plus X minus M. If you don't remember this and its components, you're going to struggle. So what this formula allows you to do is to explain the implications of the multiplier, okay, for fluctuations in the level of economic activity, because remember, we're looking at Y as the national income. So, all other things being equal, what will be the resulting increase in income for an economy that has a marginal propensity to consume of 0.75 if government spending increases by 25 billion? Government spending is a component of aggregate demand. So, you need to think about what equations do I need and what am I trying to find out? Well, you're trying to find out the increase in income for the economy. So you are trying to find the change in Y. That's your pronumeral if we're talking in maths terms. So using the formula from the slide before, using the information that we've already talked about, pause now and have a go. All right, hopefully you had a go. This is my working out. Okay, now this is a fairly simple question for this style, and they get much more complex later in the HSC, especially once you get to questions 18, 19, and 20. Hopefully you were able to figure out, okay, I need to work out my multiplier, and then I need to substitute into this formula. If you didn't get this right, have a look at this working out now. If you did, double check that you've done everything right and that you haven't just guessed. Come and see me in class if you struggled with this. All right. What you need to do now is you need to complete the sheet that is in your booklet on the multiplier questions. Have a go at these. We will then go through these questions in class. Make sure that you are trying to attack the question. Make sure you're figuring out what you're trying to find. Take your time and make sure that you are using the correct formulas, because without them, you're going to really struggle. All right, guys, that's it for this video, and we will complete activities in class from this. Thanks, Year 12.